Good evening, I'm Dennis Ward. Welcome to APTN National News. Ground-penetrating radar scans have found 9 potential unmarked graves on McGill grounds in Montreal. But archaeological searches have been put on hold by a group of Mohawk women who feel sidelined in the process. Amelia Fournier has more.
The Mohawk mothers, or Ganastansera, feel pushed aside in the search for unmarked graves on McGill University grounds.
The process can no longer by any means be considered Indigenous-led, as the SQI and McGill attempt to control the whole process, reducing the role of Indigenous people to performing ceremonies on the site.
She's saying that she's been there all day and no one's trying to work.
Gahantaneta, one of the mothers, says they feel blindsided by the communications that happened without consulting them. Quebec's Infrastructure Society, or SQI, and McGill put out a statement on Thursday saying 9 potential grave sites were identified, excluding the information that, according to the ground-penetrating radar, or GPR report, quote, "It is possible that some of the unknown features may be unmarked graves, particularly in the case of older burials without coffins and also possibly child-sized graves." Gahantaneta said that the archaeologists on site have been very informative, but there's often a delay in the mothers receiving important reports.
The only way we can find out is to be right there, because we are not told. And I don't know why the material goes to them and then they distribute it the way they want, and then eventually we get a copy of it. It seems like this is violating the court order. We want to keep those bodies under the ground and then start building on top.
They were present on site when archaeologists also dug up a woman's dress and a pair of children's shoes, the style dating back to around the 1940s. But the archaeologist panel says that they need to appoint a forensic specialist to handle these items, something the SQI has refused, said researcher Philippe Blouin.
That has been refused now officially, even though it was a recommendation from the panel, and their recommendations are supposed to be binding as per the settlement agreement. It's been refused by the SQI.
Blouin says that they have also left these partially covered piles of dirt to sit in the rain since July 25th, where sniffer dogs detected the scent of human remains in early June.
These piles have not been sifted through, and that was also a recommendation from the panel that was not respected by the SQI, to sift through these piles that were extracted from the site where the search dogs sniffed a target, to sift them immediately because the human remains could be inside these piles.
The Ganastansera also don't want to return to work until they have Mohawk security guards.
Cops are on their way. I just called them.
After a security guard appointed by a private company hired by SQI kicked them off the grounds July 25th.
We need to have our own our own people to do the security. And we do have a group in Kahnawake ready to come and do it. And we're working on bringing them in.
Works have been suspended since that incident. The SQI and McGill both said that dialogue is underway with the Mohawk mothers, but the Ganastansera and their allies are prepared to return to court if the SQI and McGill continue to breach the settlement agreement. Amelia Fournier, APTN National News, Montreal.
Well, if you have a red dress in the back of your closet you'd like to donate, a Winnipeg-based nonprofit would like to hear from you. Manitoba Moon Voices is looking to gather as many red dresses from across Turtle Island as possible to help bring attention to searching the Prairie Green landfill near Winnipeg. The red dresses will be displayed on the grounds of the Manitoba Legislative Building on August 27th. Manitoba Moon Voices says the event will call on all levels of government to work together to search the landfill and retrieve the remains of at least 3 First Nations women believed to be buried there. Following the event, the dresses will be given to the families affected by the loss of 2 of those women, Morgan Harris and Mercedes Myron. And anyone outside of Winnipeg who wishes to donate can go to manitobamoonvoices.com. Well, Mel Critch is the co-chair for Manitoba Moon Voices, and she joins me now to talk about this project. Mel, thanks so much for being with us. Can you tell us a bit more about this project and why you're hoping to display, or the group's hoping to display the dresses on the legislative grounds?
Sure. So August 27th, we're planning on bringing red dresses that we've been collecting and will be collecting at our AG on August 26th. We'll be bringing them to the legislative building to have a display. It's to recognize and honor the families and of the missing women that are in the landfills currently. The families and our community are in need of a time for healing and a time to come together to be able to show that we have the ability to come together in prayer and peace and bring awareness to this issue, that we're not going to quietly go away, that we are going to continue bringing recognition and awareness to this issue, that our relatives need to come home.
Yeah, I guess maybe, you know, as Manitoba is heading into an election here, or we are in an election, what are you hoping the message is to all levels, all the parties looking to be government with this project? Well, that Winnipeg is an epicenter for this crisis, and we have the second highest numbers of missing and murdered Indigenous women and gender diverse people, and highest numbers of violence against our people across Canada. So the decisions that are made here that happen now, what's happening now, it will be impactful for every Indigenous person across Canada. So we're hoping that the people that are running for election, that they will take this seriously, that they will recognize how important this is, that we need protection. We need the ability to be safe and do the work that we need to do to heal from this genocide. Mel, have the families said what they plan to do with these donated dresses after the event? To this point, I am aware that they will be brought to the different camps that are set up, Camp Mercedes and Camp Morgan. As dresses have already been coming into those camps and being set up and displayed at those camps, we are trying to bring those dresses that will be displayed at the legislative building. We'll be bringing those to the families to be set up in those camps. Mel, you know, Manitoba Moon Voice has been around for quite some time. I guess just what are your thoughts that, you know, we're still having to have these discussions, these rallies 9 months later so far? Well, I think it's quite indicative of the situation that's happened in Manitoba, where when Tanya Nepanak was missing and her family was searching for her remains in the landfill more than 10 years ago, there was a environmental assessment that was conducted at that time that did not consult with the Indigenous community in Winnipeg. In fact, it left them out and saying that there was no groups to consult with. So I think it really shows that we're here 9 months later, that we're very determined, and that we should be consulted in those spaces about our people. It's impacting our people, and that we have Manitoba Moon Voices stands for the voices of Indigenous women and gender diverse people in Manitoba, and that our voices won't be silenced. Well, Mel, good luck with the campaign, and appreciate you taking some time to talk to us about it. Thank you very much. Well, the forest fire situation in British Columbia is getting so bad, you can see the smoke from space. We've got more on that coming up after the break. Welcome back. Wildfires on both sides of Adams Lake in southern BC have prompted evacuation orders for dozens more properties. And the mayor of Princeton is now confirming everyone was able to get out safely after a sudden wildfire forced the evacuation of a music festival.
You know, it started, just before dark, and by 1:30 in the morning, we'd had everybody out.
The Rice Road wildfire is burning about 12 kilometers outside of Princeton. About 1,000 people were at the festival when flames forced them to leave. Police say it started when an ATV caught fire. More than 400 wildfires are burning across BC. Hot and dry conditions are fueling the record-breaking fires this season. And the fires in the BC interior can be seen from space. The International Space Station shows a view of Vancouver Island and gradually pans east where smoke starts to appear. Smoke gets thicker over wildfire burning near Kamloops. In the Yukon, fire officials are hoping a shift in the winds and cooler nighttime temperatures will help crews battling flames near the village of Mayo. The Talbot Creek fire is about 4 kilometers from the community and remains out of control. It's grown to 40 square kilometers. About 450 residents are under an evacuation order. There are 126 active wildfires across Yukon. And in Saskatchewan, 45 wildfires are now burning. 3 of them are considered out of control after a grass fire at a provincial park. The Saskatchewan Public Safety Agency is reminding people about the importance of fire bans. There are now more than 70 fire bans in place across the province. Public health officials say a new COVID-19 variant that has been spreading across the US and the UK is now in the province of Saskatchewan. And Canadian infectious disease specialist Dr. Isaac Bogich expects more cases of EG5 to pop up in Canada very shortly.
It never, of course, went away. It's been around and it's been waxing and waning since it was introduced to Canada, and really since the spring of 2022. We've certainly seen waves; they just haven't been as impactful as earlier waves. EG5 is yet another mutation. It's still under that Omicron umbrella, and I don't think people will notice anything different compared to more recent waves that we've seen since the spring of 2022. The diagnostics are the same. The therapeutics are the same. The symptoms are likely very similar. The ways to prevent it are the same.
And sorry, this is public health officials in Ontario saying this, that the EG5 variant makes up 1 of every 6 new cases in the US and 1 in 7 new cases in the UK. It's expected to become the most dominant strain in the world. To Ottawa now, where the Chief William Commanda Bridge has opened to pedestrians. And it's an old railway bridge that crosses the Ottawa River from the nation's capital to Gatineau, Quebec. Renovations for the $22 million project began 2 years ago. Its original name was the Prince of Wales Bridge. In 2021, Ottawa City Council voted to rename it to honor Chief Commanda, a well-known and respected Algonquin leader from Kitigan-Zibi, Quebec. The official opening for the bridge will be held in September. Okay, time for another quick break, but stick around. There's more to come. Welcome back. Time now for our photo of the day. And while camping at Shoe Lake in Nopamine Provincial Park in Manitoba, our very own Charmaine Straker captured the northern lights dancing across the evening sky. Man, I need to get out of the city. Send your pictures to share at aptn.ca for the chance to be featured as our next photo of the day. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast. Starting on the East Coast, 22 for Charlottetown and Halifax. 19 with showers in Kuujjuaq, rain in Nain, and a high of 15. 27 for Montreal, partly cloudy, and 23 in Chibougamau. Showers in 24 for Sault Ste. Marie, 26 with rain in North Bay. Rain and 25 for Thunder Bay, showers in 19 in Sioux Lookout. Sun's out and 18 for Churchill, rain and 17 for Norway House. 22 with showers in Winnipeg, 20 and sunny in Dauphin. Showers and 21 for Regina, cloudy and 20 for North Battleford. 16 with rain in Meadow Lake, 20 in La Ronge. In northern Alberta, 19 with showers and high level, 16 with rain in Fort McMurray. 20 and rain in Edmonton, 27 with showers for Lethbridge. 22 with rain in Vancouver, 27 and rain in Kamloops. 19 with showers in Prince George, 20 in Smithers. Smoky and 28 for Old Crow, 21 in Whitehorse. Smoke and 22 for Yellowknife, more smoke and 25 in Norman Wells. Smoke further north, 21 in Sax Harbor, 23 in Pawlatuck. 17 in Chesterfield and Arviette. 6 in Resolute, cloudy, and 14 in Arctic Bay. A U.S. artist who is known for his large-scale public pieces, including a take on the famous Hollywood sign, has now created a massive sculpture under the Brooklyn Bridge. Our colleagues at ICTV News, south of the Medicine Line, bring us this story.
You have a massive installation under the Brooklyn Bridge in New York City. It's very powerful. Tell us about that.
This is truly is a global conversation, and I think of the history of New York and Lenape territory. I think of I often think of the chosen histories that are represented in place, opposed to things that are, purposefully ignored, and I feel like this work offers a lot of entrance for various perspectives in a space like this. Whether it's people that are navigating colonial borders, whether it's colonial borders that cross Indigenous territories in space. And I feel like this touches on a lot of that. And referenced, the material was sourced from the US-Mexico border wall, which is still being constructed now. To me, that is a scar that's continually being made of colonial violence across our Indigenous territories and lands, that cuts off communities, that cuts off all the beings that we share land with, water with, waterways, and this real disconnected, unnatural attempt at containment. And so some of that gets very political pretty quick with how people view their positioning on what that wall represents to them, I suppose. And part of this work was removing that wall material and building something else in conversation. So it was a reference to also pop art. And for me, that reference it touches on a few things. It touches on the title. In every language, there's land. It touches in our responsibility for land and our responsibility to care for land. And I really love seeing everyone interact with it. A lot of this work that we put out there as artists and share publicly in space takes on its own life and engagement with space and community. And for this work, it's been really, I feel like it's been really enjoyable from my, place here as and role in that work to watch everyone engage, to see that space filled with children playing and families and interacting in such a different way than what the material alone was meant to be. Yeah, I feel like everybody has a stake in the story too of connection to something like that. So,
Nicholas, you've studied in London, New Zealand. Tell us about how that has influenced your work.
Every aspect of my education has been impactful in ways, and before that, I started as an artist in my community. Sitka Kwan. Sitka is the home community, and I started off apprenticing with my late father, Kinda Dave Galanan, my uncle, Will Burkhart, who's I still work with, going through like customary apprenticeships with elders and masters or teachers of the culture here. And that was really a core foundation to what I do now. I didn't want to study in the US. For me, it was important to try to see more of the world, of different cultures, different perspectives. My undergraduate was at London Guildhall, and that was, sometimes the things that we get from education aren't what we expect them to be, in a sense. So like, I learned from some like negative experiences out there. When I was there working, there was conversations of I cannot bring my indigenous culture to the curriculum. It was too literal. It was this, it was that. It wasn't this, it wasn't that. And that shaped me in a way that I didn't expect to really understand till later, I suppose. I didn't have the tools or mechanisms to respond while I was there, but I connected that directly to forced assimilation, boarding schools, kill the Indian, save the man, of things that we're not allowed to have our identity in these spaces, but we're told to go to these spaces to succeed. So I'd kept sketchbooks and ideas that I'd never brought into my mentors or tutors or anything. I realized that they couldn't engage in this conversation. And, I fulfilled my requirements for that degree and left. And that's why I went to Aotearoa in New Zealand, working with Robert Yonke at the Maori Visual Arts program. Obviously, I wasn't studying Maori culture. I was working with my Tlingit Unanga perspectives and culture. And there I was allowed to bring these conversations to institutional space and university settings. And there I finally, I felt like they wanted me to succeed. There I got deeper connections and understandings of the complexities and got tools for this, navigating this, these spaces as Indigenous people that these other universities would really just shut you out of and shut you down at from the start of. So that was really impactful for me, both sides of that experience.
Okay, so what's next for Nicholas Galanan?
I recently completed a Kutie totem pole, recently completed this project, opened up a new work at the Liverpool Biennial, which is up right now. And I am currently creating new work for the Armory. Candace Hopkins is curating some solo exhibition spaces at the Armory in September in New York, the art fair. And I'm working on a new record because I make music as well under Yatsine with our last record was out on Sub Pop in Seattle. So I'm working on the next record right now with that. That's a slow, enjoyable process, but got a solo exhibition opening at Site Santa Fe in October. So I'm working on that. And yeah, I think right now also I'm home with my family. We're fishing right now and smoking salmon and processing. I kind of took the month off so I can be home and do some of that, which is also really important.
It's very important. Nicholas, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks to our relatives at ICT for that, some of whom we'll get to hang out with later this week. That's all the time we have for your APTN National News for this Tuesday. For news anytime, you can visit our website, aptnnews.ca. You can also catch up on anything you may have missed here by visiting our APTN News YouTube page. And of course, you can always catch us here each and every night. I'm Dennis Ward. Marcy, thanks for joining us. Have a great night.